Let me just start with the MCU is doomed. Hey there, this is Tom with Tom's Tech Show. I do videos about movies and TV and technology and photography, things that I like. So if you like them, you can subscribe to my channel. Today, we're talking about the MCU and what the future holds for the MCU. So we know we have a few other movies coming up after Endgame. Probably a Doctor Strange, the Black Widow movie, the new Spider-Man movie is coming out later this year that we know of. Obviously, there will be another Black Panther movie, but some of those may hold on their own. I don't know if there's going to be another Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. That may be. I'll have to look up the schedule. But after Endgame, we were so invested in these characters, right? That there's actually a new poster that just shows the original six, and we're so invested in these characters, and these characters have such a good personality dynamic, right? I mean, we have Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, who are intellectually there to challenge each other and to try and keep each other in check, although it doesn't always work, right? We have the Hawkeye Black Widow thing. They have a past. They have something there that's, that we don't know about, but they always have that in the background they have to keep in check. We have Thor, who's, hot-headed and, is ready to just, throw his axe into something and be able to go on, attack. Just point him at something and, let him go. And then we have Captain America, who's kind of the moral compass over the whole thing, trying to make sure that all of the different pieces, whatever happens, is done correctly and straightly and within what is right within the dynamic of the group. So all of these pieces together have formed this great dynamic of how to balance this group going forward. So we have all the different pieces and all the different facets of basically your different types of personalities and everything forming this one natural group that is really has worked well through the Avengers stories and the Avengers movies, and even in their, Civil War was kind of a Avengers 2.5 kind of film, but still, even then, getting them together and stuff and doing that, just their dynamic, what I'm saying is really good. So moving forward, the next group of characters that we're going to have that's left is going to be, right, supposedly it's Captain Marvel, right? Captain Marvel is going to lead it, right? So we have Captain Marvel going to lead everything, and we know how, if the direction of her character is the same as the Captain Marvel film, then it's going to be very blah, I can do everything kind of character. We have Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch. I really like him. He does really well. I think he doesn't take any garbage, any crap from anybody, because he'll just spin a spell and throw you off in some other planet, right? Then we have Spider-Man, who he's just the kid, kind of the newcomer on the block. They do have to get permission from Sony. Is it Sony? I think it's Sony, in order to use Spider-Man. So that's going to be probably, maybe a struggle. Maybe he won't get as big of a part in some of the further Avengers movies, depending on the relationship between the two. We do have Black Panther. We'll still have the highly technological piece, person like Tony Stark now going to be in Black Panther and Shuri and all that. But Black Panther is very much more a leader. He's like the leader of Wakanda, right? He is a leader. How are we going to have the Captain Marvel leader and then also, Black Panther be leader? That's really how is that going to balance out? I see that, butting heads a little bit there. Then I don't know where Ant-Man and the Wasp are going to fit in in another movie, or they're just going to be, the box office for the Ant-Man and the Wasp has not been, what some of the other movies are. So is that going to be, are they going to skip a third one? Are they going to, wait a little while before that, or just bring them back only for, the major Avenger movies? We have Scarlet Witch and rumors and everything about cast not getting along and all of this. You bring a character like Scarlet Witch, bring her up from the Avengers movies and stuff through everything to being one of the kind of more main characters in a film, and then you say, oh, by the way, yeah, you're being kind of shoveled and pushed off to the side because we have this other character that we're going to put that's over you, even though Scarlet Witch has been shown to be extremely powerful. So I don't know how she's going to take that, the actress herself and stuff, and what they're going to do with that. I mean, we also know there's another probably Black Widow film, and whether Hawkeye wrote in is going to be in that, or if it's a prequel, if it's like an origin story, it will be Hawkeye, right? And we'll try and see how that comes out. But if it's a prequel, do we really need her to continue in any more Avengers movies, right? If it's a prequel, I mean, if she's done after Endgame, then she can just do the prequel and that can stand alone, and we wouldn't need her for any more Avenger films. And we also have Falcon and Iron Patriot, whether they want to continue with those or not, or just insert them here and there into other films. If we do lose Captain America, if rumors, whatever, that Captain America dies in Endgame, then typically what would happen is in the comics, I think they've either had Bucky Barnes or Falcon or one of the other people. It would more likely be Bucky, but take up the Captain America shield and continue on as the new Captain America, right? So whether that's going to happen, I don't know. Then the wild card out there is the Guardians of the Galaxy, whether they're going to come back for another Avengers film and have a storyline that's able to bring them all together. But it seems like much more of there's no original like 6 or 5 or whatever. Like, who would be the 5? Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Black Panther, and would it be Bucky as, taking over the Captain America spot? Kind of thing. I mean, but that they don't seem like a very good cohesive, Spider-Man is the kid, right? He's like, he doesn't know Mr. Stark. What is it, Mr. Stark? Kind of hanging on Mr. Stark. Is he going to have to be able to transfer his, allegiance to someone else, to be able to, his mentor, who's going to be his mentor? Because I think in the films and everything, he's still in school kind of thing. He still is needing, like a mentorship somewhere, and that's what Tony Stark was doing with him along the way. So who is that going to be? Is that going to be Doctor Strange? I don't know that Doctor Strange and him really get along well. I don't see it could be Captain Marvel, because if you give it to Captain Marvel, then she's the mom. And, being the all-powerful woman, she cannot be a mother. So we can't have that. So then it would end up being Doctor Strange, or it could be Shuri, right? I mean, he could, to go get technological things, he could do that way. I mean, it's most likely to be Doctor Strange, which would be funny, to have him, irritating him, Spider-Man irritating Doctor Strange all the time, that would be some interesting thing if they had that in an Avengers thing, because he already kind of did that a little bit already, but it seems still disjointed. I know they have a plan, and then of course there's the other rumors and thoughts, of course, that is, the world ready for a gay superhero? Do we really want that? For me, I don't want identity politics. I mean, we already got some identity stuff going on with Captain Marvel. Do we really want more? That's really turned off, I think, people in The Last Jedi and Star Wars. That started to turn people off. You're dealing with, the regular comic books are very niche, right? specific people read comic books. Your everyday person does not read a comic book. And if you want to explore all of those avenues, like, I mean, Deadpool definitely is whatever sexual he is and stuff in the comic books. And they mildly hinted at a few things in Deadpool 2, you know, with his affection for Colossus and things like that. But do we really want a main character that is in the gay, you know, LGBTQ, whatever the extra letters you want to add? Do we want that, you know, and play that to the general public? Some countries may actually ban the film. I think there's some countries that don't allow those kinds of films. I think China will definitely probably may frown on that. Box office will be very bad for that. I think I think they took one chance with, you know, they dipped their toe into identity politics with Captain Marvel. And hopefully it will not be in Endgame, but I think the further they go that way, I think they're going to continue to further alienate the audience, just like Star Wars has done. And I mean, we'll see how well Episode 9 does. You know, so once the trailers start dropping for Episode 9, which is, you know, Star Wars Celebration is coming up, you know, we'll see how that is. But as far as Marvel, I don't know. It's not something I want to see. I'm much more of a conservative person, and I don't really need that. You know, I get that in the news every day, and I go to the movies to escape what I see in the news, right? Just like Captain Marvel, you know, her being Mary Sue and everything else, you know, I don't want to see that in a film. I want to get away from things and get back to just good stories and good superheroes. I mean, I don't care what, you know, I mean, it really doesn't matter what gender, race, or whatever twist they want. But I don't want that to be the forefront number one thing in the film is, you know, here, take this. You know, that's not what I want. I want all of that to be completely thrown into the background, to not even be mentioned, to don't even worry about it. Deal with the villain and the superhero failings and the villain's powers, and how are you going to defeat them, and, you know, what obstacles do you need to overcome to get there to defeat them? Just like we have it now in Endgame. We've lost half of everybody in the universe. What things do we need to overcome? How do we get there? How do we figure out how this needs to be solved? Doctor Strange told us there was one way to do it. We got to figure out that way. We got to think like Doctor Strange, you know, all that. That's what I want. Right? Leave all the identity politics. Leave all the other stuff at home. I don't need your political message. I don't need you to tell me that this way is right and this way is wrong. I'm here to watch, you know, a superhero movie. And if they continue that further down all the movies, I think they're going to really be having problems. And I'm seeing it happen, and, you know, because of Hollywood, how Hollywood is, Hollywood has their own all-inclusive, let's everybody do whatever we want kind of mentality, and they're trying to impress that upon the rest of the world. Well, that's not what the rest of the world, just like Twitter is taking the ideals and values and things of San Francisco and trying to apply that to the rest of the world. So naturally, if someone is on the, you know, leaning fairly right, and they make comments and Twitter doesn't like it, they'll you know, shut their Twitter down. But if you're on the left, which Twitter agrees with, most of all the far left, you can make whatever kind of defamatory, inflammatory, whatever comments you want, and Twitter won't do anything because they agree with them. So it's very, you know, lopsided. All these things coming from, you know, these media companies that are ingrained with Hollywood, that are ingrained in places like San Francisco, which is, last time I was there, it's just getting to be a horrible place to go. I'm going to go there in a month for a charity concert, but it's getting very bad to be in San Francisco. And that's not really what who wants that, right? So as far as Marvel goes, I think we're at a wait and see after Endgame. We have the Russo brothers, so hopefully they can stick to their vision of what they wanted all the way through Endgame. But after Endgame, I think it's going to be rocky. I think we're going to see some things change in Marvel, and we're going to see some fans leave Marvel. So I think they're biding their time. I think it's going to be not too long before their movies are going the way of Solo. And I mean, they may still make money, but I think unless they change, and maybe it'll get to be a point where they have to reboot the whole thing again. Who knows? But I mean, we're talking probably 6 to 8 years out that this is probably going to be. But I don't know. I'm going to be picking, and it's just like I've bought every DVD of Star Wars all the way up until The Last Jedi. I've not bought any Star Wars anything after The Last Jedi. So if they're going to, at some point, if they keep pushing this in Marvel and pushing identity and identity politics and social justice into the films, at some point they're going to get to a point where they break the audience, right? They'll have an audience that's like, oh, yay, yay, yay. And they'll have an audience that's like, I'm done with you. And that's probably a few years away, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm making a prediction that at some point that is going to happen. All right, well, let me know what you think in the comments down below, whether Marvel's still going to be relevant in a year or two. Are we going to still have these great MCU movies? Are they going to be incredible for another decade or two? Or if you also see the fact that maybe it's over, maybe the end of the MCU Endgame is really the end of, they had a good run, 10 years. That's, 10, 11 years, 22 films. That's, nobody else has done that, right? 22 films and, had that good of a run. So, maybe this is the end. Maybe their luck has run out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I'll be watching to see what happens after Endgame and everything else. So, all right, if you like this, then subscribe to my channel. If you like videos about movies, TV, photography, and computer stuff that I do for my day job, any of that stuff, then just subscribe, and it'll show up in your feed there. Hit the bell. You'll know when I upload things. I do videos probably 2 to 3, maybe 4 times a week, depending on my schedule. So thanks for watching this, and take care.